About where we are right now. We're getting towards the crucifixion.
There you go.
Okay.
That's it. Go ahead, David. Your turn.
Ooh, good song. Here we go.
There's a train coming. You don't need nobody. You just get on board. All you need is to stay. To hear the beats coming. You don't need nobody. You just thank the Lord.
This means that the individual's psyche is far from being safely synthesized. On the contrary, it threatens to fragment only too easily under the onslaught of unchecked emotions. While this situation is familiar to us from the studies of anthropologists, it is not so irrelevant to our own advanced civilization as it might seem. We too can become dissociated and lose our identity. We can be possessed and altered by moods or become unreasonable and unable to recall important facts about ourselves or others, so that people ask, "What the devil has gotten into you?" We talk about being able to control ourselves, but self-control is a rare and remarkable virtue.
Oh, welcome. I hope you're feeling virtually not alone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I don't know if anybody's even listening right now. Like these voices in the background. Makes them feel virtually not alone. Your host, General Griswold Gaius, member of the First Blood Regression Protocol and a member of the Fraternal Regiment embodying narcissistic sociopathy. On behalf of the Sacred Order of Fluid Transparency, I say hello! I see this as with the film. We have some all-stars in the hive mind today. Hive mind today. Hive mind today. Hive mind today. Hive mind today.
Why, look there, it's Seabax and Kale and Peter Penrose Bach and upcycle inspection mills and Dr. Lenny Times Africa mostly not working. Hello! Praise Frigga, it's Friday. And, you know, of all my heresies, that's really a tiny one. Tiny one. Guess what we're going to do today? Well, it turns out in that a mere 44 minutes from now, We'll be adventuring with Pastor Paul Vanderclay and Pete from Strange Theology, and probably that Kale guy too. In what does the popularity of JBP and the spiritual musings of Rogan tell us about the weather that is heading in the West? But it turns out that last night, Joe Rogan released like even more spiritual musings. And if you guys are going to go into that, right, talking about his spiritual musings, well, at least you can get the updated latest edition of those spiritual musings here today on the Grim Grizz stream. Tickle Me Pinecone. Tickle Me Pinecone, because it might be the gateway place. Don't forget, we have a really hot sale on right now. And I have some disclaimers regarding that, the merchandise. Hold on.
It's a whisper in your ear, now listen here. Remember, embody, it's all so clear. No hidden strings, no puppeteer. We're by your side, have no fear. I cherish truth. I cherish truth. Remember, embody, there is no agency. We want what's best for you.
Whoa, turn that off. Okay, all right. So the disclaimer and the trouble with the merchandise part. All right, here we go. What happened was, Kale's been on fire in his war against good fashion and common sense over on the Twitter. And it came to pass that it was demanded of me that merchandise for the event be made. And I did such. And if you're viewing on this, what do you call it there? The YouTube's like this over here, like this. You can click this button down here where it says Shop, and it'll open this thing over here on the right. You can see this is the new product. This Sincerity, this Sincerity Utopia tee. T-shirts or underwear. Now, unfortunately for the people who have already purchased it, if you look terribly closely, can we zoom even? No, they won't let us zoom. Well, let's try that. Whoa. All right, you see what happened there? It's got the tiny little version of the big thing on that. So that's terrible. I've made the edit, but for the next 3 days, I don't know if you're going to get a shitty one or a fixed one. But that's cheap. But for sure, you can get the remarkably slashed low price Denimor's Denny Cap at the very self-same link. Woo! All right, heretofore then we'll do one of those casino deck cards of the show, and then we'll get started with the savings throw. And I know, like all of you know, what's up with the savings throws and the mind control, and how you have to choose between survival, social wisdom, or heart to participate and get a savings throw. I roll a die that represents that choice, and if it's over 10, you take half damage. Right? Everybody knows that. Well, that's coming up right after I learn to shuffle. And also, the 5 of Hearts is the casino deck card of the show. Welcome. We hope you're feeling virtually not alone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, you can unsubscribe and then resubscribe immediately if you want to get that fresh subscription feel again. Survival, social, wisdom, or heart. Choose. Woo, Frigga savings throws are as follows. Survivalist with an 18. Socialist, hot 3. Wow. Lovers of wisdom, pairing it up with the survivalist with an 18. Socialists, gonna get you. That's a 4. You're gonna need a lot of bonuses. Indigo Kids with a 5. 5 for you. Welcome, everybody.
So say we all. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Ho, ho, ho.
Eh. Oh no! Wait, that's shorter than you expect. Every single. All right, we only have one, but first, before we get into what Joe Rogan's weird spiritual views might be in this interview he did there, or discussion, conversation, whatever we're calling it, he had with this lady. This is Diana Walsh Pasolka, and she's apparently a writer and professor of religious studies at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Her latest book, Encounters, Experiences with Non-Human Intelligences. That's her. Here is the most valuable part of the interview for me.
There's another, and this is what.
Sorry, I do it fast-ish.
This is what I've found, is that there's an oral tradition that is part of the communities that run these programs, like the UFO programs, right? And that information is carried within people. It's not written down. They even have a word for not writing it down. When they're going to have these meetings, they have this special term, and everybody puts down everything.
What's the term?
It's called pencils up.
Like love. Love is worth saving.
I don't know love.
Now encompasses everything.
Whoa. I'm fumbling all over the place. Hey there, Spoon Man. What you ask about a green social die? If that happened, it's a mistake. The green one is the heart one, the power of the heart die. Okay, and then all right, and now with much the spiritual musings of Joe Rogan. 17. 7 there.
We were outside in this courtyard area, and there's where the pine cone is. And he said, "Do you know the significance of the pine cone?" And I said, "Does it represent the pineal gland?" And he said, "Yes." And so he got
I
so
did not
excited.
know this.
Yeah, that's what it's
Wow.
also in the Pope's staff. If you look at the staff that the Pope carries, the staff has a pine. See if you can get a photo of the staff the Pope carries. It has a pine cone in the center of it. The pine cone, which is it's depicted in many, many ancient pieces of art, religious.
All right, and while these are the beginnings of his spiritual musing, it's also my delivery on his, you can sum up his spiritual musings as tickle me pine cone. Tickle me pine cone. Here's some more.
Just art, and it represents the pineal gland because it's similar in appearance to a pine cone. And so this pine cone, which also I'm sure probably represents the Fibonacci sequence, which also represents itself in the pine cone. That's the seed of the soul. That's where DMT is made.
This might be the gateway place.
Yeah, the reason why they have it.
Oh, hot shibbigity bang. I've already delivered on the title of the stream and the thumbnail. Not only is it Tickle Me Pine Cone, but why Tickle Me Pine Cone? Because it might be the seed of the soul gateway place. What the? Keep going. Let him keep musing. Okay, he's got more musing.
Immense pine cone. I mean, that's not an accident.
No, of course not.
No,
Yeah.
So here it is.
Fascinating.
So he has it in his staff. And that massive pine cone that is the sculpture at the Vatican, that's what that is. That is it's representative of the pineal gland. And this is what this professor was telling me. And like you see it there in that ancient Mesopotamian art. It's probably Sumerian with that god that has that. I mean, that's the Anunnaki carried that thing, and that the fact that they're holding it specifically, that they're telling you like this is what's up. This is the connection. This is the connection to the gods.
Did you guess this?
Well,
In rare and exciting and unfortunate news, I have to derail the stream now. So,
Slime! What? It's a river of slime!
you see, what happened was I noticed that today in the stream, just now on the top right corner, is a weird little logo. And the reason the weird little logo instead of the bubble is there is because the Estuary Encountering Face to Face Northwest 2024 symbol is related to this here stream. Like, as you may know, I've recently had at the top of the Hive Mind a link to help you unlock the 11th seat of the 12 seats of the VIP event associated with Estuary Northwest Encountering Face to Face 2024 at estuarynorthwest2024.com. And the reason it is not there, Falafels for Jesus, is because I wanted to share with you this moment. You see, it appears that one ups, whoever that mysterious character might be, says for clarifications and has bought a coffee. And now, if you go to the page, we get this. Did you see? That's what fanciness happens for the Ko-Fi person when you achieve the goal. You achieve the goal.
In all our searching, the only thing we've found that makes the emptiness bearable is each other.
So now we have achieved the goal, and I have to set a new one. Seat 11 has been unlocked and also distributed to the clarifications. Who now makes the 12th seat of the even more valuable. You see, the starting amount, we got like 11 so far, right? The seat 12 unlocked his begin, and maybe we'll cover gas money to get you to Olympia. Yes, that's the plan. Now, what the thing of it is see, this seat is now more valuable because you know that the sociologist studying the TLC Clara is rumored to be attending this event. And as such, you now might want to go even more. Seat 12 is now up. Oh, you didn't even say any words. Hold on, I gotta say words. Seat 12 unlocked. The final disciple seat. Man, you should set that goal higher. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, and then play branding and pin the tweet. Or pin it. And Mills asks us the milky question, pine cone or giant fennel? We say pine cone. Mills. And now back to the spiritual musings of the Joe Rogan.
Knew that the pineal gland looked like a pine cone.
And so when he asked you, you just knew this?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Well, I'd already had a lot of experiences with DMT.
Right.
So I already knew. I knew there's a realm accessible to anybody that gets in contact with that stuff that is beyond imagination. It is more real than reality. And when you go there, you've been there before. With the most bizarre feeling about it is this terrifying fear while it's happening, and then incredible peace when you get in there, and a recognition like, oh, I know this place. I've been here. I'm here all the time. I know these things. I know these beings. These beings are they're truth. They're something from somewhere else.
This is me interjecting just a WTF, because he keeps going, and I want you to hear it.
Somewhere that's probably around us all the time, that's influencing us all the time. I know a lot of people have had very negative experiences, like horrific experiences of demons and negative encounters. I've had none. I've had no negative experiences like that. My experiences are all in these very enlightened, bizarre creatures that contact you. And they seem to know like what's wrong with me, like right away. And they seem to like also work on you. Like there's this bizarre feeling like they're like, let me get in there and fix your fucking wires.
Well, that of course sounds like the abduction experience.
Yes.
Too.
Very.
Well. Isn't that interesting?
The list?
Yes, any of the first level ones.
I'm gonna get a soda. Anyone want one? Hey, Graham, I'm not in the room, right? What room? I want to cast Magic Missile. The room where he's casting all these spells from. He hasn't cast anything yet. I am, though, if you'd listen. I'm casting Magic Missile.
Why are you casting Magic Missile? There's nothing to attack here.
I'm attacking the darkness.
And so it came to pass before I saw this last night, I saw this other thing from our good friend Jonathan Dumir.
That being the case, we know, us flatlanders, about left-right, and we know about forward-back, but we have never heard of up-down. Let us imagine that into Flatland, hovering above it, comes a strange three-dimensional creature which, oddly enough, looks like an apple. And the three-dimensional creature sees an attractive, congenial-looking square, watches it enter its house, and decides in a gesture of interdimensional amity to say hello. Hello, says the three-dimensional creature. How are you? I am a visitor from the third dimension. Well, the poor square looks around his closed house, sees no one there, and what's more, has witnessed a greeting coming from his insides, a voice from within. He surely is getting a little worried about his sanity. The three-dimensional creature is unhappy about being considered a psychological aberration, and so he descends to actually enter Flatland. Now, a three-dimensional creature exists in Flatland only partially. Only a plane, a cross-section through him can be seen. So when the three-dimensional creature first reaches Flatland, it's only the points of contact which can be seen. And we'll represent that by stamping the apple in this ink pad and placing that image in Flatland. And as the apple were to descend through, slither by Flatland, we would progressively see higher and higher slices, which we can represent by cutting the apple. So the square, as time goes on, sees a set of objects mysteriously appear from nowhere and inside a closed room and change their shape dramatically. His only conclusion could be that he's gone bonkers. Well,
very, very similar to the abduction experience. I think they're all connected. I really do. I think that's one. I mean, I know you're saying that some of them do happen during the day. I'm sure some of them happen during the day. Most of them happen at night. The vast majority of them happen during when people are sleeping.
That's true.
And that seems to be completely connected to that. It's the only explanation that makes sense to me, other than an actual, Hollywood style UFO landing and then come and getting you, and which seems so theatrical. I think the reality is far more bizarre than that. I think that's one of the things that McKenna said about DMT and also about mushrooms. Terrence McKenna said that they show you themselves in that way to comfort you, because the reality of what they are would be too much for you to handle. And that what
the Flatlander, you don't actually understand what you really look like, as a fourth dimensional being might see. With that being said, allow me to present to you Father Spiridon speaking on the subject. Spiridon writes of these supernatural beings.
Though we cannot completely comprehend or define their nature, we can describe the activity of the angels from patristic and biblical sources. Throughout the Bible, we see angels acting as God's messengers and appearing in forms that do not completely overwhelm the men to whom they reveal themselves. Demons too take on many forms, but the purpose of their transformation is not to protect us, but in order that they may deceive us. As a result of the fall, our human bodies and their senses have lost the capacity to perceive the spiritual reality for which they were created. As St. Ignatius Bryanchonov writes, "In this condition of darkness, by reason of their extreme crudeness and coarseness, the bodily senses are incapable of communion with the spirits. They do not see them, do not hear them, do not sense them. Thus, the blunted axe is no longer capable of being used according to its purpose. The Holy Spirits avoid communion, while the fallen spirits have drawn us into their fall, have mingled with us, as to more easily hold us in their captivity."
Just what a nice synchronicity that Demir would give me that, and then I'd watch this other nonsense with Rogan, right? Where were we on that?
what you're seeing, even though it's mind blowing, it's just a tiny little piece of what it actually is. So when I'm at the Vatican and I see this pine cone, I'm going, okay, so there's this recognition that this connection to God, this connection to this higher experience, this higher power, it's available inside of us. There's a gateway, and that's the gateway.
And now, as I often do, so the notion here there then is that if you tickle your pine cone with mushrooms and such, you'll get to meet creatures that you only get to see a part of because they have to hide the rest of it from you. Now, the thing is, there's what we call perhaps another path. If it is such that you have this seat in your head, and if you tickle it with mushrooms, weird things happen. Maybe there's a natural biological function encoded into your creation through which you're meant to use that maybe tickling it with the mushroom is a little bit like playing with yourself, and maybe you're supposed to starve your bestial nature until your spiritual system can clean the antenna. I get that mostly from this Yehu. I don't know what he's saying, but this is his latest nonsense. Have a piece of that.
If we
Now, this is all based on the fundamental understanding that Christ is the binding of the material reality, or like the nexus point, maybe, of the material and spiritual realities. And therefore, they're such. Then, not only was his actual life the thing, but it also is a story told in disguise when the sun stays still 3 days in the summer solstice. And according to this Yehu, the story is also told in the body as like he gets crucified in the place of the skull, as well as the sacred squirt this guy talks about does, which theoretically cleans off your pine cone in a way that's not tickling it with the mushroom. And maybe it's better to run the moneylenders out of the temple than to tickle it with the pine cone, because it might be the gateway place. Uh-huh. Remember it.
This agency. We want
All right, who knows? Because I sure can't fast for 3 days. Special thanks to the Shadow Cabal. So say we all. And now, a series of other highlights from this thing there, which I wrote down as timestamps on this fancy card for you to enjoy. This one is probably interpretations. Let's see.
Hey, some here believe this, some over here believe that. They have the same mass that they go to, but their belief structures are different.
So that leads us to one of the most fascinating interpretations of what we're experiencing collectively when it comes to this UFO, UAP, whatever it is, phenomenon. That this is not a thing from another planet that comes on a spaceship and lands here to show us how to do things correctly, but that they've always been here, and that they are the things that are being described in Ezekiel, that they are a phenomenon.
If only I had an It's Aliens' Ancient Astronaut guy clip, right? Right? Okay, but now this part here, I want you to note how boy howdy does it seem like Joe wants Jesus to be mushrooms real bad for some reason. Like he wants Jesus and is trying to get there through mushrooms, and is sad it's not that.
It changes over time and over history, and it becomes different, and then eventually becomes like a hula hoop around your head.
Oh no!
But the earlier versions.
Yeah, well, see, this is the nonsense about him saying, like, pitching that guy's theory that it was mushrooms, and he's talking about how in the ancient art the halos look like mushrooms to me, and that you were clearly under the influence of something. But we're getting to the part I actually want to talk about. Yeah. No cap. All right, now let me tell you about this next part. The next part is about something that's very important to me, and the reason it's very important to me is because of Memnoch the devil. like I was growing up in a world where there was a billion churches, so obviously they were all wrong. And like all the lady girls were reading the Anne Rice novels because it wasn't as pop as Twilight, but it was in that direction. And so I was like, and without fatherlyship, I was like, how am I going to land a lady if not knowing what they like? And so I read these Memnoch the Devil vampire books, right? And in Memnoch the Devil, it's the Vampire Lestat. If you saw the movie, it's like the 5th fucking book, right? But he ends up going to meet with Jesus, and he says this thing that fucked me up really hard, like because you're trying to understand the reality you were born into. And he said this part like she has the character encounter Jesus, and then has Jesus tell the character that sometimes he forgets he's God. And that that nothing made him more human in my imaginary than that moment. But also in that book, one of my favorite vampires from earlier in the series touches the Shroud of Turin and destroys himself because it's so real. And so this part of the podcast was fascinating to me.
500 years old. So the problem is there is a whole department of you should get this priest on here, by the way. You'd have a really good discussion with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's an expert on the Shroud of Turin, and he just came out with new research that's been done about 6 months ago. And there's a whole department in the Vatican just for doing research on the Shroud of Turin. So it's not necessarily just 500 years old. That there are different parts of it. It's, how you were talking about the parchment?
Is the Shroud of Turin real after all? 1988 report wrote off the relic as a medieval fake, but now the science seems to be...
Let me just share with you some of the BS I have heard as interested in the Shroud of Turin, about the Shroud of Turin. And my two favorite points is, like, in order, the things I've heard were, like, in order to produce the image, either on the second or the first cloth, it would have had to have had the energetic effect of a nuclear device going off. It would take that kind of energy to make that impression on the hootenanny. And secondly is that there's like 2 layers. And on the first layer, the eyes are closed. And on the second layer, the eyes are open. That's the stuff I like to hear. That's the stuff. Those are the stories I enjoy. No. Oh, look, he's starting already, this guy. Look at this guy. He's starting up already. He said it was going to be at noon, and here it is 10 minutes before that. He's starting. Thanks, Paul. Well, I got 4 more timestamps. 3 of them are as follows. 1:35:00, 1:36:33 to 45, and 1:47:22. However, I do want to share this last one that I actually left a note on, called Emissary Worship, at 1:45:25.
Yeah, this is it. This is the thing that he worked on like more than 20 years ago.
Is a hypothetical idea of Dick's in the field of cultural evolution, outlined in his 2003 paper, Cultural Evolution, the Post-Biological Universe and SETI. The intelligence principle describes a potential binding tendency among all intelligent societies, both terrestrial and extraterrestrial. The maintenance, improvement, and perpetuation of knowledge and intelligence is the central driving force of cultural evolution.
Headline right there. The notion of knowledge and intelligence and the preservation thereof as what's at the top of the value hierarchy. Hey, watch out for that. All right, let's go over to Paul's, that son of a... Hey, wait, no, before we go to Paul's, I got to give you a Blue Church card of the show, right? At least that, Grim. Come on. All right, Blue Church, card of the show. And the deuce. Deuces of hearts. See you, everybody. Hey, Stephanie, I caught that late. Hit me up on Discord, DM, Twitter, or email. See you guys. Oh, end the stream. Press the button. There we go.